Hi, this is Kalyan Karmakar, and welcome to a new episode of Foodocracy for Her. Foodocracy for Her is India's longest-running podcast on women in the food industry. And before you think that some big studios taken this show over or whatever because the background looks a bit different, it's because we are not home today. We are staying at the Grand Hyatt, Mumbai, so it's nice to shoot from there. And I'm very, very excited to introduce today's interviewee panelist, a friend of mine, Chef Hemal Shah. So great to have you on board, Chef. In fact, she's very interesting, and I must tell you, let her introduce herself to you. But before that, I must say, Hemal, I was really missing you this morning because I felt like a lovely scrambled egg, and we first sort of met you when you were in La Folie. Is that the correct pronunciation? Or is it La Folie? Yeah, because sometimes, one wouldn't, one never knows with these French things.
It's a French, yeah. No, but
Yeah,
it is La Folie.
so I remember once going there because I had a very bad back pain and just took a book there. And I wanted scrambled egg or something. Then he just took one look at me and, put in some truffles, some salmon, some olive oil and something and made like a real comfort dish. So that's Hemal Shah for you. And guess what? I mean, she was originally an investment banker. Then she's been a chef, and now she's created her own brand, Chef Hemal Shah, and she's done a lot of interesting things. But let's go back to the very beginning. So what are you? What are your food roots? Because Shah tells me that Gujarati, so is it from dhokla to scrambled eggs? Or tell us a bit about your story.
Before we get started, Kalyan, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited seeing you. I mean, physically we haven't really met since a while, but at least, via this, it's really nice talking to you after so long. And thank you for the wonderful introduction and thinking of me while having the scrambled egg. So my journey in terms of who I am and where I have reached now. My mom's a Kashmiri, dad's a Gujarati. So I'm already a fusion right there.
And a very unique combination. I mean,
Yes.
I haven't heard of too many Gujarati Kashmiri.
Yes. So right there at home, things were like very different. Like we weren't really a typical Gujarati or a Kashmiri household. We've always had like a mix and array of, in terms of cuisines or the exposure, the language, culture. And I'm born and brought up in Mumbai. So of course,
Okay.
it's a melting pot of various cultures. So I guess just growing up, I've been influenced by so many different cultures, and because of that, so many different cuisines. And I will just restart my video. Sorry.
Yeah.
So it's been great just being exposed to so many different things. And I think I come from a family of foodies. So we've always like been about the food, like the large tables, the spreads, and, like every event was about food. Travel was about food. So I guess, I always had it in me that like food was a big part of me, and it continues to be, right? And I don't know why I didn't think of it, in terms of the conventional path of IHM or like a hotel management and then going down the chef path. But I guess when it has to happen, it happens. And I'm glad actually I didn't go down the conventional path, because I do have this background of, so I did like MHCT, which is pre-med in India. So a little bit of
pre-med, as in like a doctor.
Yeah, so I actually gave my medical entrance, and I go through Science Medical College in Bombay. And
of course,
so basically, I was a science.
So is that where they taught you how to make scrambled eggs for people with back pain?
No.
What's much better than an ultraset or something?
No, but trust me, I don't think anything that I've learned has gone to waste. Sometimes you feel like, oh, should I have studied this? Why didn't I do that? Because somewhere something is always put to use in terms of, when I like nowadays, in terms of keto, or so many people are going on different diets and restrictions, and they have like so many various needs. It kind of becomes easier for me. I'm not saying it's easy for anyone, but in general, I guess because of the understanding that I have, I kind of adapt better.
Hmm.
And I guess I'm grateful for that. Like, I have a background wherein, the names aren't foreign. I kind of
Yes.
pick up, certain things better. And yeah, so it started from there. And then with the finance background, I did economics, I did
No,
finance.
but how did that happen from medicine to finance? How did that shift happen?
So my parents are doctors.
Okay,
Growing up,
both
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 of
your
them are
parents.
doctors. My dad's a cancer surgeon, mom's a gynecologist.
Wow.
And yeah, I come from a family of doctors and pharmacists and all of that. So it was, I think it was just a path that was very like, I mean, I was always a good student. So it was like, okay, you do science. Back then it was like, if you're a good
Yes.
student, you do
Oh
science.
yeah, tell
Yeah,
me about it. Yes.
exactly. So I did
Yes.
science. And so my parents are very supportive. They always asked me what I wanted to do. But honestly, I did not have the answer. And I guess because I didn't have the answer, the path was already laid out that fine, your parents are doctors. Why don't you become a doctor?
Hmm.
And I kind of did that. I went through the whole, exams and, studying for it. And I kind of locked myself for almost a year or two to kind of prep myself. But
Yeah.
while I was doing it, I realized that, it's funny, but like, I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I had one common answer that when I become rich, I will
Ah,
open my restaurant. So it's hilarious. Like this,
ah.
as a kid growing up, it was like, when I have the money, I'll open a restaurant. That was one common answer. But of course, like it was like more of a, how people say, I want to be an actress or I want to like
Yeah, yeah.
something
I
like that.
wanted to be an astronaut as a kid.
Exactly. You just
I
have
mean,
these
I'm spaced
aspirations.
out at times, but I can't see myself in outer space. Yes.
Oh God. Maybe now the next theme could be like opening a space shuttle restaurant and then having you there. So
Yeah, maybe you should talk to Richard Branson about that. Yeah.
I'm sure with the way things are going, we aren't too far off from having a restaurant right there.
So
But
so then investment banker was so that you can become very rich? Was that
I,
the
I doubt it wasn't that. It was because while I was preparing for medicine, I saw my mom's lifestyle. My mom's a gynecologist.
yes,
And
yes.
so that was one thing I was always like, she was always there for me when I needed her. But I
Hmm,
knew her timings were crazy. Like, she would
hmm,
wake up
hmm,
at 3 a.m. for a
hmm,
call and rush for an emergency or not
hmm,
come home for like a birthday party and, not be
hmm.
there for my annual function or something. So that was something I was very apprehensive. Of course, I wasn't too well versed or didn't have an understanding of the various different fields. For me, it was like, my parents are doctors, I see their lifestyle, and that's what's going to be my lifestyle. So I was very sure I don't want to be that. And yeah, I guess once I got through the medical college in Bombay, I told my parents, this is not something I can do. And
Okay.
honestly, investment banking, economics, finance happened by chance because by the time you get your results in Bombay for medical school, all the other admissions are already shut. So the
Hmm.
only thing open for me was like a BA, like a arts degree.
Yes.
Yeah, so those admissions were still on. And so I just happened, okay, I'm from a science background. What makes sense? Economics makes sense. Let's do economics. So it obviously, I was just by chance, it was destiny. It wasn't planned at all. And there wasn't a thought process to it. But I actually started enjoying numbers because, I mean, when I was doing science, I was doing maths and bio.
Hmm,
So I
hmm.
was always like, enjoying the numbers and all of that.
Yes.
So yeah, that's how investment banking happened. And while I was studying, what happened was, the big fours, KPMG, Ernst & Young, PwC. So you hear these names, and
Yes, yes.
we had campus interviews happening, and I just happened to go for some of them. And I got through PwC. So
Wow.
yeah, so it was like just a really big high that, oh my
Yes.
God, I'm going to
Of
be.
course, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess that's how I just went into investment banking because that's the first job I got. And, I was like, fine. I honestly believe like my path has, it's God's way of just, telling me this is what you need to do now. This is what you need to do now. I haven't really planned anything. Like, yeah, like never. It's not been planned.
I must take a minute and because I always see these things more as a conversation than an
Yeah.
interview, and so much of what you said sort of resonated with my life. So my dad was an orthopedic surgeon.
Okay.
I lost him when I was very young. When I was 9 years old. But I used to sort of, to him, he was a very larger than life figure, and I this thing. But right then, even when he was around, for some reason, I never wanted to be a doctor. So that was pretty clear.
Yeah.
And then I did sort of okay in my 10th. So then the natural path to after that was science. So I really loved reading and writing, and that is what I love. And in science in plus two, the only thing I did well in was English because, like, mechanical physics and
Yeah.
Boolean algebra and all that nonsense, sine theta, cos theta, I won't recognize them if I walk past and,
Yeah, I mean,
and
I don't
I
even know
was,
why we study them. Where do we apply them? Like,
yeah,
yeah.
and I almost was in the brink of sort of dropping a year and taking commerce or something. And then my math teacher in school told my mom that no, just IC is not that difficult as school is. So somehow I this thing, and then my grandpa said, you do whatever you want. So like I took the entrance of papers of GE and
Yeah.
whatever IT and stuff, but I didn't sit for the exams. I applied for arts. I wanted to get into English. I didn't get in the college of my choice. And then I got in the college of my choice, which was presidency, but I got sociology, which was very new then. So it was a choice between subject and college. So I went for college, and then it just turned out to be wonderful. And then I got into a newspaper, Asian Age, and I wanted to be a journalist. And then I got into my MBA. So my mom said, no, do the MBA. So I did that, market research. And then 2007, I took up blogging as a hobby. And well, here things are. And but like you, I completely agree that nothing goes to waste
Yeah.
because I studied sociology. So I look at food more from the angle of society and culture than say maybe a chef might,
Yes.
who might look at it more from the science of cooking. And also because I've worked in market research and my clients are people who are in marketing and for 15, 16 years. So now I also look at I do a fair bit of food consulting work because I understand how brands think and work,
Yeah.
but also the food thing. And I also wanted to just bring up one thing which didn't strike me till you said that your father is an oncologist.
Yeah.
So very recently, I was reading this book, and I'm going to order it and send it to you, and that's a promise, by my friend Sharmishta. And I'm just going to take a little break here for a second.
Yes.
So I was telling about Sharmishta. So she's written this book, um, "Cancer, You Got the Wrong Girl." You
Okay.
picked the wrong girl. I just got this thing. But so she's a friend of ours, and then she got detected with breast cancer, and she had to go through the whole run of operation and chemotherapy and all of that. And sometimes we were in touch, and she'd say that during chemotherapy, how she'd feel nauseous and stuff. And then she told me that she's missing food, and she wanted to once come out and eat, and she was really craving pasta. And but she said that now I've not eaten out because of all the restrictions. So where can I go where I can be absolutely sure of the quality and everything else? So then I said that let's go to La Folie because they have a lovely pasta, which is a truffle sort of fettuccine with a sort of creamy sort of thing, which is what you want. And I can go there and trust it like it to be like home. So then I went there with her and her husband Anirvan, and then you were there, and then you sort of created
I
this
remember
dish
this.
for them, and it was just what they wanted and stuff like that. So I was remembering you when I read
Yes.
that book, so I'm going to send that to you.
Thank
Okay, so now enough of me talking. It's going to be about you. So investment banking into then becoming a chef, and I believe you also traveled a fair bit in the US or
Yes.
stuff like that, and the Far East. So what happened then?
Yeah, so while I was in the US, I was working for an investment management company in Durham, which is North Carolina. And right across from my office building, we had this lovely sushi restaurant. And we used to visit that quite often for our team meetings and lunches and stuff like that. And I was always, I mean, sushi was already introduced in India, but I think it became pretty much like I mean, over here it's more of a luxury, like not anymore,
Yes,
honestly,
yes,
but still,
yeah.
like back then it was like, once in a while. I don't know. I'm so sorry. There's something wrong with.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely fine. It's
Yeah.
absolutely fine. See,
So.
one day there will be a studio sponsoring us, and maybe once your investment banker in you figures out how we can make some money out of this, and then it'll be all live and also don't bother.
Yes.
But yeah, like you said, I mean, sushi in India is very
Yeah.
like exotic and
Exactly.
expensive, while in Australia and stuff, it's something you can pick up from the supermarket.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
pretty common. And I was pretty fascinated with, so they had these tatami tables and, like the whole vibe, the ambience, the food, everything was so amazing. And like, if you remember, I said I always wanted to open a restaurant.
Yes,
I
yes.
don't know why, but that moment when I used to eat there, it just hit me that maybe this is something I want to do. This is, I mean, I didn't think about the cuisine per se, but just the way the experience was, of eating there. And especially when you go for these corporate lunches, it's very like formal, and you're having like meeting clients and stuff, and it's big money, so your focus is actually like meeting per se. But over there it became about the food as well, and that
Yes.
really surprised me, that because not all the restaurants we visited, because that was one
Yes.
of the many we used to go for our meetings.
Yes.
And it was amazing how the staff obviously was very inclusive. They knew that when to kind of come check in on us, when to give us
Oh,
a
that
space.
is so important. Yes.
Very important,
In
like.
fact, I must say that that's at Hyatt yesterday we
Yeah.
were having lunch at China House, and the young gentleman who was serving us, he was very well adept at the menu and stuff like that, making his suggestions, but knowing the thing about not being intrusive. Like often, yeah, there are times when you haven't even had a bite, and people ask you how's the food, and
Yeah.
then they hang around, and the chef comes with that.
Yeah.
But you're right, this balance is like when you know that okay,
Yeah.
someone's come with their family or work, not to be, yeah.
Yeah, too, because I mean it's a very thin line. You
Hmm.
want them to check in on you, but you also want your
Yeah,
space to enjoy the meal, the
exactly.
company, all of
No,
that.
like for example, I like the
Yeah.
fact that we chose a particular noodle, and he said that no, this won't go with the rest of the things
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
ordered. So he said go for this. So I like that,
Yeah.
but I wouldn't want him to then hang around and like, okay,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, and it's almost like he's staring at the meal you're having, like, but yeah, no, exactly. And so that the entire experience was something that I was in awe of. And I mean, something in me just went like, okay, this is what I want to do. And I happened to walk up to the manager one of the days, and I checked in with him, like, what's the process of joining you guys, how does it work? And so basically, I do not have a degree. I was in a foreign country. I was in the US, and the
As
US.
in, you don't have a culinary degree.
Yes, I don't have a
Yeah,
culinary degree. Sorry, yes.
yeah.
I do have a master's in financial economics,
Yes,
but
yes.
yes, I don't have a culinary degree. So when you're in the US, the H-1B, which is the work visa, works on your, whatever you've studied, the degree that you have earned is what you can actually work in, unless only you have a lot of money or a sponsor, which kind of gets you in.
Yes.
But that's like a very different path. So the usual path most students do is they study and then they work in the degree they've kind of earned. So it was a little bit of a like, he wasn't sure what I meant, because he seen me coming with like all
I
my
know.
colleagues and stuff. So he was like, well, we are looking for a manager, if you want to buy the shares. And I'm like, no, I'm not talking about that. I'm
I don't
talking
want to own
about,
you.
yeah, like I want to work under you. I want to be like the hostess or the chef, all of that. And so I think it took me 3-4 meetings to kind of convince him that I'm really interested. I'm not joking, but I'm sure he has a lot of people walking in and asking for jobs, and especially because in the US, summer jobs and college students working at restaurants pretty common.
Yeah.
So he wasn't really sure what I actually meant by wanting to work with them, and it took me a few weeks of convincing him, for him to connect me to the owner. So this restaurant was one of the many owned by Echelon Hospitality, which was one of the big hospitality companies in the area. And when I was kind of just reading up on the company and the owners and how they came about all of this, like I said, destiny. The person who owned the company, A, was a Gujarati. B, he happened
Patel Motel.
Yeah, exactly.
Was he a Patel?
His name was Gaurav Patel, and he happened to be an alumni from the university I did my master's. So
Wow.
yeah, I emailed him, and I got a reply within like 48 hours. And we fixed up an appointment to meet. So we met at this cafe which he owned, like it was a coffee shop. And yeah, it was a breakfast meeting, and it was very interesting because this was my first experience with like reaching out to somebody you really don't know, and hoping for the best. And I think one of the things I would, without sounding too pompous, but I need to put it out there, I think I always have been very curious. And I've never let my ego come in between anything, because sometimes asking for work, requesting something, just as an Indian mindset, like honestly, if I was in India, and I'm being very honest, I don't think I would have had the thing to go up to a restaurant and say, "Mujhe idhar kaam karna hai," because
especially when you're like working like with a whatever PwC equivalent sort
exactly
of
like
thing.
I unfortunately, I guess just the way we're tuned, it kind of like really, you want to work in a kitchen, and now of course things have changed a lot over the years.
Yes.
But it wasn't like this back then. And so I mean, I guess it was the exposure of being there. It was the fact that, I really wanted to do this. And I knew, like, and I also will give credit to my mom here, because
I was going to ask you that. How did your parents react to it? The daughter's gone abroad, become a investment thing, and suddenly like she's becoming like, she's not opening up a Patel Motel chain, but she's actually sort of becoming a cook. So how was that? How did they respond?
I'm very grateful to them. They've been very, very supportive. But on a lighter note, my dad's still waiting for my next career. Like, what's next?
Yeah, even my mom is.
Yeah, like what's next? But I mean, of course, my parents have been well-traveled, and they themselves are doctors, and they understand. They've been adapting to the world around them, so they understand what's happening with our generation. They know that it's like there's a very thin line between being stupid and practical, and passionate and like understanding how you kind of convert your passion, your dreams into like a business or a career. So I think they trusted me, and I'm very grateful for that. Of course, there was actually a year of convincing them, to be honest, because like I said, like when you come from a Indian mindset, there's also a thing that you're a girl. So the timings, the art, one of the things I ran away from being a doctor was because of my mom's working hours.
Yes.
And as a chef,
and all the chefs say that they have no family life and all that.
Exactly. Yeah. It's hilarious because my mom keeps
joking. So you literally went
into
from the pan to the from the karai to the chula.
Yeah, exactly. Because like I've had events where I've started like a day in 9 a.m. and the next day at 5 a.m. you've wrapped up. Yes. So my mom keeps joking about it. Isse acha doctor hi ban jati. So I'm like, yeah, but I mean, like, because I enjoy it so much, I'm not tired after those long hours, because it's what I want to do. Like
exactly.
The same way she loves being a doctor, she doesn't get exhausted after like nights of calls and duties and stuff like that. So I mean, now we've reached an understanding where we know and we respect each other's space and all of that. But yeah, it took me a year, and
I can also understand, because you were in a faraway country.
Yes.
Like daughter, child, this thing. Still, if she's in front of you, it's sort of this thing. But you're in a very far off continent, so I can understand.
Like no family, usually at least you have family around, like one, two. But my closest relative stayed in New York, and I was in North Carolina. So for them, it was like it's a completely different. And nobody from my family is in this industry. So it was a very new thing, like a new country, new industry. And because, so I didn't actually quit working as an investment banker. I would do my 9 to 6 shift as an investment banker. And the second shift, I would go to the restaurant. Like,
wow.
Yeah. So 7 p.m. to 12 a.m. I would work at the sushi restaurant.
It's a bit like how I started, but the difference was like I would work during the day as a market researcher, and then after dinner sit at my laptop and write. But the only difference was that what I was doing at night was for myself. I mean, it was not a job, but for you, it was accountability because it was a job, and also you were there to learn. So, I mean, for me, it was just a way of, letting off some steam or whatever. But you were there with a purpose, so it's
and
all credit to you.
Also, it wasn't actually a job. I still can't call it a job because I wasn't on a work visa. I became a volunteer there, which was
they don't interns and all that.
So there was no money transaction, there was no salary, and I was very happy. I was like, I do not want the money, that's what took them by surprise. They're like, are you sure we're not paying you? There's no minimum wage, there's nothing.
But no money, but accountability is there, right? Like,
of course.
You have to deliver.
Yeah, I'm part of the system. So it's it's like an unpaid internship, So in accountability in terms of the fact, because it's hospitality. So, I'm serving. I'm also now the face, I'm the team member. So I started as a hostess. I worked as a waitress. There was like 3 weeks shifts that would happen, and then the rotation before you entered the kitchen was also a bartending thing, which I wasn't too good at, so they were pretty happy to let go. So it's usually a 3-week stint, but I did it for a week, and that wasn't something that I enjoyed either. Neither I think I was really good with the tricks, trying to do all of that, so they were pretty understanding. But it was nice because you obviously enjoy the flavors and all of that. The mixologist was great. So it was a lot of fun there. It was a learning. I mean, and the entire experience was a learning. And when I went to the kitchen is when I realized that it is a madhouse. What do you imagine a commercial kitchen to be and what it really is? I mean, having said that, I was the happiest being in that kitchen, especially during service time. Because it's like every second something is happening. You cannot miss a beat. You're like, you're passing it this on, and this chef has finished this chef is plating, and like it's amazing. Just being in that environment was such a high. And
like your face and smile says it all. And if I can just interject for a second, 14, 15 years I did research and I worked with top companies and drew a big salary, had big designations. But when I do things as a writer, like for example, today I've got a very bad headache. And if back in the day, if I had to send something, I would see if I could push it or something like that. But I was so looking forward to our chat that I didn't even this thing. And now you brought it up, I even forgot. But yeah, I've seen that when you enjoy something, like then I wouldn't mind nights or weekends, or if things are going wrong and when you're working with others and stuff. And I can see that in your face. I mean, that exactly what you mean. I mean, it's not that these are just words. Your expectations tell you. So yes, sorry. So you were saying about the madhouse.
It's so true, because I'm sure most people know, but if they don't, investment banking is a very stressful job. Because I'm again accountable for somebody else's money, and it's big money. And this investment management company was Duke University, which is one of the top 10 funds in the US. So it was really, I mean, you're like in the during the day.
And this was after the financial collapse of 2008-10, like when things were coming. So it was in a way a rebuilding sort of time so people were very wary also. And US was badly hit. I mean, India was quite okay. In fact, I presented a paper in SMR on that how India sort of escaped that 2008 sort of thing. But so there will be a lot of raw nerves in the US. So in terms of recreating that trust, regaining that trust.
It was. And I mean, I was fortunate, but I just want to add here that, you hear of racism. I was in the Southern Belt, which is the church belt.
Yeah. Which is supposed to be like.
Yeah, it is very conservative. To see a woman be an Indian, which is brown.
Not even black, not even white.
Yeah,
So what is this now?
yeah. So they my team was of course very accommodating. There were a few hiccups here and there, but you're working with various clients, so for them to be accepting of you, to be able to trust you, you're building your trust, you're building your rapport. So I know while you're doing that, and it's also my first job out of the university while I was studying there. So it's like, it's a stepping stone, because obviously back then I'd not yet thought of taking the leap of faith. So this was what I wanted to do.
But
And
how did that work out? Since you brought up this
yes,
issue of it, the notion of it being like a
yes,
racist sort of place,
yes,
and
yes.
you're so did you face racism, or how did you?
Yes, very subtle, like very subtle. Like, so, and it's hilarious. It was to do with food. So, so we had like, clients coming in, there would be an email sent out. We shouldn't get food from home because tomorrow we have clients visiting, especially any
So
regional cuisines. Yeah, because
curry smell.
they have a stereotype,
Yes,
Yeah.
Indians means like curry and garam
Exactly,
masala.
exactly, exactly. And
And
but
so they didn't want you to open your thepla and achar and
yeah, and it's hilarious because I honestly never back then took lunch from home. It was like you would step out, but it's just for them to kind of. It was very
hmm.
subtle. And then there was so it was once to do with food. Then once there was something very weird about maybe you. So basically, the office, the entrance, we had like these cabins, open desks, and then there were the partner cabins. And when you enter, like mine was the first face you would see even before the reception, because the receptionist desk was this side. So that was my assigned,
Yeah.
desk. And they could have not given me that. I mean, I didn't ask for it. But after 3 months into the job, one fine day they come up, when they walk in, this is the first cabin. So maybe, and they're literally telling me this. I mean, they could have just told me, we're just kind of reshifting
Yeah,
the team or whatever and making changes. But they actually had this conversation, like you're the first face they see when we walk in. So maybe we should have somebody else sit in. And I actually took offense to that. I said, I'm sorry, I'm happy to change my desk, but not because of this, and
yeah.
because we were part of a university. I actually went down the route where I was very, very clear that this cannot be a reasoning, and I need an apology if you're giving me this reasoning, because that's
Hmm.
hilarious. Like, it's
Hmm.
unheard of. Like, why would you say that,
And this is even not during Trump's time and all that. This probably
Yeah,
be
this is
Bush or
what
Obama or something,
yeah, and
right?
it was so these subtle things kept happening, but then they also knew that this was an Indian brain. So like, I didn't realize it, which I learned later. As Indians, we tend to take on more and help people and all of that, like, naturally we are well versed with Excel, because kind of we've
Yeah,
done
yeah.
it. And our math numbers, like we do it in our mind, and then we kind of just do it whatever. So these guys, I mean, because also I was just like, joining, so I was an analyst. So this is like the lowest rung in the system. So I was like, I'm happy to learn, I'm happy to help. I would go up to my colleagues and ask if there's something I can do, if I would wrap up my work early. And they would give me happily, but I didn't realize it became like a norm, like, that, oh, she's kind of something, she can finish it off, so why don't you give it to her? Yeah. And I mean, this is something that I've learned. It's under promise, over deliver. Because what happens is, sometimes there's so much on your plate and you're helping others, and then when you tell them no, after you've told them
Hmm.
yes forever, that no suddenly seems like, well, this is your job, when technically it wasn't. It was a help
Hmm.
for you.
Yes, yes.
So yeah, I mean, that
But
was.
I think that all of this must have been useful later in your food career, like in terms of when you're drawing contracts with people, how to sort of, the transparency,
Yes.
or like, say racism. In India, there is sexism, and especially in the food industry. I mean, the main reason for my doing this podcast, and you've been so supportive of it
Yeah.
right from the beginning, is that it's a bit funny because in the home, it's expected that the woman will cook, while in my home actually is the guy who cooks more. But the moment it goes to a business, is expected that it'll be the
Male
men.
counterpart.
So there's sexism and so many other things. Also, I wonder if I don't know if I'm reading too much into this,
Yeah.
but you were working in finance at a time when the sector was rebuilding trust
Yeah.
in the US.
Yeah.
And I'm just wondering if any of those subliminal training is coming of use now, where we are in the second phase or the second year of the pandemic, and it's now again all about regaining trust of the consumer and food. So, I mean, in hindsight, do you feel that any of that came of use?
I'm glad you brought it up because sometimes it takes a third person to tell you that.
That's what all my interviews see. See, I'll let you in on a secret. When I
Yeah.
sit in for an interview, I have no idea what I'm going to ask. I'm a seat of the pants person, but it's because of conversation. So it just strikes me, and I love throwing off my interviewees and not ask them the regular ones. But I'm really interested. Yes.
Yeah, because it's such a great perspective, and we as individuals, and again I'm saying Indian mindset, but it's true. I think there are so many of our so many things growing up, unfortunately, that have bound us in a certain mindset.
Yes.
Although now we're exposed to a lot more, but then it is what it is, and you realize that you don't give yourself that much credit. It's actually you're told to say that you become too humble sometimes, and you don't realize that yes, you've learned that, you've applied it, and it's true. Like I'll go back to the exact question and be more specific.
I feel like we're Siamese twins, but yeah, that's why I'm laughing. But yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's I think just my journey from, like I said, it's taught me so much to where I am. It is because of all those learnings. But I till this moment didn't really think of the fact that those learnings have actually been very important to kind of help me rebuild, because like I told you, I had COVID in April.
Yes.
And so because my business primarily is about me, I'm the chef, and then
Yes.
I have chefs under me. So I'm still like, as an entrepreneur, I'm at a very nascent stage. So it's I've the transition like from the hobby to passion to business is still like right there, and
it's like say Taj restaurant or Shamiana versus Diva, because I mean now it's of course this thing, but at the beginning, I mean, it was all about Ritu Dalmia, right?
Exactly.
I mean, so she had to be there, I'm guessing, and so many other. Yeah.
So exactly. So of course, me getting COVID meant business is at a standstill. There's no work. No work, of course. Forget the monetary. It's also today's world. It's out of sight, out of mind.
Yes.
I have built this brand, I have built this trust for the last 1.5 years, where I've got clients, I've got regular clients, I've got
No, I must confess, I was wondering what was happening, because I was so used to seeing your updates and the WhatsApp broadcast. Then I wondered, is it the algorithm because I've not clicked on it? Am I not seeing it? Then stuff. So I mean, I had no idea till we spoke before this chat that you were down with COVID.
COVID. And then I just recovered from COVID and I had this whole post-COVID fatigue. I got a ligament injury on my right wrist.
Oh gosh, yeah.
So that was even worse, So there was a lull wherein there was no work. And of course, the fact that I knew I need to push myself, and because I love the kitchen, like for me, the kitchen has been so therapeutic, has been, it's like two extremes for me. It's something that helps me come out of a lull, and something that gives me a high,
Yes.
So it's been amazing.
For me, writing is that. And just to make it clear to people, I mean, just so that to give the context,
yes.
I mean, just quickly, I'm running. You came to India, you were working with La Folie, and then you went to your own brand, and then this thing happened. But it's let's just put it out there that you could have managed financially without working for a while, right? I mean,
Yes, yes.
like after the
Naturally.
COVID happened, it's not that you were forced to get back to work because you had to pay for your rent or stuff like that. I mean, if you're fortunate that way, then
Yeah.
why not? Like even in my case, it wasn't. And you said about this conditioning, so there's always this thing that the man should be the the hunter
Breadwinner,
gatherer,
yeah, yeah.
and even when there was no pressure, I was taking that pressure. And you've known Kanas, and you've seen how many times like we'd be at La Folie, and I'm sure you've sort of observed maybe our body language and how supportive she was. But the point I wanted to make to the audience is that Hemal did not necessarily have to push herself to go into the kitchen. So what made you do that? You were talking about therapeutic. Was doing nothing because of the thing, was that getting to you? Was that?
Yes, it did. It did. And like sometimes, okay, so let me just quickly go through something. I was a great student. I did science, got through a medical college, which is very difficult. Like one of the top four in Bombay is like,
Sign, right? I mean, sign is,
yeah,
yeah, sign is
exactly.
big
And
shit.
then
Yeah.
and then I chose to do economics, which people were like questioning, like, oh, you're doing arts, because economics was arts. And then I got to PwC again. There was like a wow. I went to the
Mhm.
US, was Duke University, so there was a wow. So there
Yeah,
was
I mean, it's not that you gone to Bangladesh or
yeah,
Indonesia or something. You went to the
exactly.
US.
Yeah. So like even though I was taking these like transitions or leap of faith, so like basically going to a completely, there was always a wow factor. And now when like even when I came back to India after my stint in the US, while I knew, I was so sure I want to be a chef, I came back, I traveled around, and I worked with different various chefs, and I used to again just walk up and ask for jobs and stuff like that. I was in Goa for a year, and over there, chef Sanjana, who is the
Yeah.
owner and the pastry chef at La Folie, she was one of the guests there, and she loved the food so much that she offered me to come back and run her cafe. So it again was like a wow moment. It wasn't really planned, and I of course have heard of her. I've of course heard of the
No,
Banda
and
Cafe.
she was like, top of the heap, and still
Yeah,
is.
exactly. So I chose to come down, and the experience of Goa, the experience of traveling around and then working with chef Sanjana at La Folie and all of that, getting a new cuisine, interacting with the
And
customers.
you're pretty much by your own over there, right? Because Sanjana
Exactly.
is more a pastry person,
Yeah, so she
and
basically,
and from
yeah.
what I understand, she is also like if she knows that there's a specialization which she's not, so she'll find the right person and then give a
Exactly.
bit of
She was
space.
hands off. She
Yeah, yeah,
basically trusted me. Of course, we
yeah.
brainstormed, and it was her brainstorm, child to kind of get me on board, and like, we used to obviously discuss menus and all of that. But after that, she would come in for the tastings, she would approve it, and she was
Yeah,
like out. Like she wasn't really part of the process of, either budgeting or
yeah, yeah.
actually doing any of that. But which was amazing because, for me, having that freedom to create was what I
But
needed.
also scary because it was Mumbai and Bandra, which is
Yeah, which is the
probably one of the
hotspot.
toughest markets to win.
Yes, yes,
Like yeah, they're real food travelers, gourmets over there, and people who focus on the product rather
yes.
than the brand. I mean, it's not like South X or little Delhi
Yeah,
thing, but
but that's
you
where the
know,
type A personality came into thing, wherein I love challenges. Like, the journey technically has been
type
all
A.
about
Yeah, okay,
taking
yeah,
on a challenge and,
yeah.
doing it. Like, let's do this, let's do this.
Huh.
So yeah, and so why I went back to this whole journey was that, while everything was like new, challenging, but there was a wow factor with every step that I took. And then when I went on, like, I decided I want to start my own brand and become an entrepreneur, Chef Himal doing pop-ups, pandemic hit. So the pop-ups are completely out of the question.
But I still
So
remember your first pop-up, which was, I think,
monsoon.
at this kitchen run by Sanjay Manjrekar's daughter, right?
Yes,
In
yes.
Worli.
Devika,
And lovely food, very well organized. And you were wearing golden sneakers. I remember that.
yes. I love shoes. I'm a sneakerhead. So
Yes,
yes.
yes.
But yeah, so I mean, that was the first hit as soon as I started my entrepreneur journey. Like, okay, I'll be doing pop-ups, and then slowly transition into a cafe. Pandemic happened. You adapt, you convert to a delivery kitchen. You know, you have these house, like when the lockdown opened, you have house parties, like, okay, fine, let's start catering. Okay, people are looking for gift hampers, corporate
And you
lunches.
also did cooking lessons in between also
Yes,
on video.
during lockdown,
Yes, yes.
because I personally love traveling so much, and none of
Hmm.
us could travel back then. What I did was I did this whole journey through food.
Yeah,
So yeah, travel around
I
the world
know.
through food, and I did workshops of various different cuisines, and basically going to different countries and picking up the specialities of each country. Yeah, so I basically kept adapting, and that again was a little bit of a high, like personally I feel, because I knew I was building something, so it is going to take a while. But right when I felt that, okay, yeah, I've adapted to the pandemic, I'm kind of building something now, there is something real happening here, I got COVID. And that really took, because you're anyways like working on this, what's next, like a survival sort of, what to
Yes,
do, and then you sort of get like another hit, like it's hit
yes.
after hit.
And the
And
ligament there, and
yeah, and then the ligament there, so it was mentally a very dark place, because you're not, it's not about not working or not earning. It's I think for me it was more about my self confidence, because for me plating food was like introducing you to me, sharing a part of me with the world. And that sort of was missing for a really long time. And so I guess I was just in this whole struggle of who I am, where am I, and I like left did I do the right thing by leaving a six-figure, salary,
yeah,
coming to
yeah.
this? I mean, even if I did
Dollar
this, did I?
salary at one point.
Yeah,
Dollar salary
I mean,
was at one point. Yeah,
it was
dollar.
US dollars.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. And then even, and the fact that did I take, did I run too soon into this entrepreneur journey? Should I have worked with a brand, because salary technically would still be coming in. So there were so
mm,
many questions like, where am I? And then it suddenly also hits you that, your peers are doing something else. And
yes.
with social media, as much as a boon it also somehow gets to you when you're at your lowest, because you see, like, you may not really see the entire journey, but whatever they're showing you, it sometimes it's it makes you question where you are. I mean, and
I don't know if you saw this. Sorry to add this very emotional moment to break in, but I don't know if you saw this
yeah,
movie Face Off or stuff like that. But I'm almost thinking that it's almost like our faces have been switched, and it's me talking. But I have exactly the same
yeah,
questions. That what am I doing? What I see, what the others are doing.
yeah,
Whether
yeah,
peers are in the industry, did I take the right decision, or
yeah.
yeah. So how did you get out of it? Or
Yeah, I
just
guess I am a very positive person, and I'm very spiritual. Like, I don't think I'm religious, but I'm very spiritual. Like, I do a lot of talking, introspection.
do
I'm
you
into
follow any faith? Any
I'm a Hindu.
philosopher faith or
No, not really. Like, so I have like my pieces of like something from Buddhism, something from
hmm.
Hinduism, but I will not say I have one particular per se.
So
Like,
for us also it's a bit like that. I mean,
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
Hindu, my wife's Parsi,
yeah,
but we follow the Buddhist philosophy,
yeah,
and more from a philosophy point of view
yeah,
than
yeah,
thing. But I agree that that spirit. A few years back when I was going through a rough patch and I used to go to the yoga institute at Kalina, then one of the doctors, because they check you in the beginning,
yeah,
so she said, do you follow any faith or spiritual leaders? So I said no. So at that time, she said it's very important to do so. And she said it doesn't matter what. I mean,
yeah,
it's not that because yoga is based on Hinduism.
yeah.
She said Gita or whatever, but she said find
Some,
something. So that also,
yeah,
no,
because
I mean, that's why I asked whether it's
yeah,
something specific. Because sometimes people also look at various thought leaders and whatever
yeah,
and get
yeah,
their
yeah.
inspiration there. But I think that's
Yeah, I
sort of
think it's so
important.
wholesome for me, because I mean, my parents are pretty religious. They also have gurujis they believe in. So I
Hmm.
respect that. I, of course, follow it as part of the whole family culture and, rituals that we have. But they've also given me my space to believe in what I want to believe in. So,
Hmm.
there's no per se pressure that this is what we do as a family. You're allowed, or you're, actually it's very wrong to say allowed, but this is how we're conditioned, like it's so
Yeah,
few
yeah.
to say allowed. But yeah, I mean, you
Yeah.
have the freedom basically. So I
No,
guess,
but I'm glad you're saying all these things, because
yeah,
these are very this is the reality of every Indian family. So
yeah, yeah,
I mean, I'm glad you're being candid and speaking about
yeah,
it, because yeah, I mean, allowed is how sometimes people might think of it, but
yeah.
as long as I mean, the main thing is that the end purpose happens,
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So I guess there was just this inner voice that I honestly wasn't looking at work. I was looking at what's going to make me happy at this moment.
This is in the post,
Yeah, so when I was
COVID
COVID recovery, the
ligament.
ligament, and like trying to figure out where's my
What makes you
happy
happy?
place. Yeah, where's
Yeah,
my
yeah.
happy place? What's gonna give me joy? What's gonna bring back that smile? And because the hand wasn't fine, it wasn't really cooking. Honestly, didn't come immediately. It was more like, where am I the happiest? And the only thing I could think of was the kitchen. That was like, literally, I'm being very honest, it was like kitchen, the fridge, like, so in my house the kitchen is here, the oven is here, the fridge is right opposite, so that space is like my space.
Like for me, it's my writing desk with my
Yeah,
two cats now
yeah,
sitting, in front of me. But
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. And like, so you start imagining and you start picturing, and so I do a lot of visualization, when I meditate, and like, so this is like I'm manifesting what I want to see and what I want to be and all of that.
awesome.
And so that's how I started. It was basically all in the head. It was my mind visualizing and focusing on being in the kitchen, whipping up something, creating something. And like, it sounds very cliched, but for me the biggest thing of getting into cooking or the kitchen was the fact that when I serve people, the feedback you get, the smiles you get on people's faces, it's a big high. And I guess
Yeah, yeah. Like going back to that scrambled egg
yeah,
story, like
yeah,
Kalyans and I had gone to La Folie that day because I was under tremendous back pain,
yeah,
and and back pain means that I couldn't be at my happy space, which was at my work desk, and then we just happened to mention it to you because whatever, and then you went and made this thing and you put these little extras in the egg,
yeah,
which like really brought that I
yeah,
mean, it's not that the back pain went away, but
yeah, it
that
is a
smile
moment
came
of,
back. The
yeah,
smile, yeah,
yeah,
definitely
yeah,
came back.
exactly.
So yeah.
Exactly. I mean, I'm so glad you remember that. But that's the idea of being a chef, that you
Oh,
take
listen,
back those
everyone,
memories.
Sharmishta remembers the
Yeah.
pasta you made, and my friend Kanishk, remembers who came here for a, heart surgery. He remembers before going back to Calcutta, having his first meal
Awesome.
at La Folie. If you remember, 4 5 of us came, and it was
Yes,
like a
yes, of course I do. Of
celebratory
course I do.
thing. And I think I remember you made him a coffee also, which he can't forget. So it's I mean I'm sure many people have done, but you specifically, I mean, you've touched people's lives in various ways, and I'm sure that they don't forget that. I mean,
Yeah, and
that's a great place to
thank
be
you.
in.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
that's the biggest, takeaway for me as a chef, that people
Hmm.
remember those moments, those experiences they've had because of the food, because of
Yes.
me, and yeah, and that's like, that thought process, being in the kitchen and just like thinking, and like, I guess that's how you manifest, and which I learned later on that I'm manifesting it. But yeah, and I actually manifested being back in the kitchen. And it just so happened that the timeline was around Diwali.
Huh.
And for me, Diwali is a very big festival. Like, as a family, we come together.
Yes.
Most families do, but for me, I have
Hmm.
so many memories attached to it about food. Like my daddies and my going to my nanny's house, and like different cuisines being made, and the preps would start like months in advance. Like, they've been buying all these things and storing it up
Yeah.
and all of that, because we are a huge family, like really big
Hmm.
family. So all of us coming together, the cousins and the uncles and aunts and all of that. So I guess everything just aligned. It was an inner calling, and it just happened during Diwali. And what I did was I restarted Chef Hemal. And I started with like the Diwali hampers, gift hampers, and then I started getting Diwali catering, house parties, and all of that. And yeah, and then I full-fledged went back to working. And it was a transition which, honestly, I didn't realize that it was a lull and it happened. Because I guess even during the lull, as much as, I was down and low, because I kept thinking of the happy times to keep, like, sometimes you try to be happy because you want to imagine what it is. You kind of transition into it very smoothly.
So you're pushing away all the thoughts which the reality of your life was bringing to your head by thinking of, wow.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, that's what. So I was like cutting out all the white noise, and there was so much happening around the world. I mean, of course, close to me, like within the family, extended family, friends, but even around the world, I'm a very empathetic, sensitive person. So it really bogged me down. Like it wasn't an easy mental. Like I literally had to make an effort not to watch news. I didn't care if I sounded stupid if I'm not updated, but I was happy being ignorant about what was happening in the world. And I just pushed through.
And what would you do if you knew something? I mean, what would you do? I mean, no, I mean, that's
exactly. It was what it was. Also pretty helpless at some point during.
Yeah, but the main thing is that in your space, what is the difference you could make? I mean, that's something which yoga, Buddhism, all of that's taught me that focus on your reality, the person in front of you. So what I want to know now, we're sort of reaching the end of the segment. I'd love to keep chatting to you for 2 or 3 hours, but at least Instagram like 1 hour.
Yes.
So I hate editing it and making it this thing. So you started Chef Hemal, before the lockdown. Then it was gaining momentum. Then the lockdown happened. Then lockdown took you into different formats, which was the deliveries, the cooking shows, and all that. And then suddenly you went out of sight at a time when the hospitality industry was coming back, and everyone was reinventing themselves, and people were going back to them, and stuff, and all of that was happening. And then you decided to get back, right? But you had to start from scratch, right? So and which was the parallel I was drawing with the financial crisis then. I mean, we don't need to sort of necessarily compare, but now that you're back in ground zero, which you're used to being at various stages of your life, how did you sort of get the business going? I mean, how do you get orders coming in, and how do you sort of, and because now there are many, at that point there were many options, huh? There was Bombay Canteen, there was this, that, there was everyone was coming up, big names, a lot of chefs are going independent, cloud kitchens, things like that. So how did you sort of carve a niche or space for yourself and get people to start ordering from you?
I think that's a question I'm still answering for myself.
You don't know how it happened.
I don't really have a good answer because I guess it's, when you love something and when you create it with that love, it reflects, it's there in the food. And then honestly, for me, it's been word of mouth. Like, of course, Instagram, Facebook, and all your social media platforms have helped, and they help spread it faster.
But it's not that you spend too much on your, spend
no, my marketing has been very organic.
It's many organic, right?
Very organic, because it's literally that this is what I do, and I'm so grateful because the client, like I was very scared, like when I was going through that lull, that I've created a certain community, I've created this brand, and it's just becoming a brand, to be very honest. I'm still not yet a brand, but I'm still like, it's just on that cusp, and maybe a little bit more and I would have been there, and then it went down. But people from back there have still been in touch, like, oh, are you back? Oh, we saw your post, are you also doing catering? And it's been amazing, that communities reached out again and they want the food. I've already have my Christmas orders. I have like my Christmas caterings, like getting finalized.
What's the menu for Christmas for this?
So I have a bake sale. The weekend menu I haven't yet got out, but the bake sale is out on Instagram. I've got like various breads. I've got
and your Instagram handle is Chef Hemal, right?
Yes, that's Hemal. Yes.
Yeah.
And yes, I've got breads, I've got cupcakes, I've got different flavors of cupcakes. I've got a rum cake, like the Christmas cake. So yeah, there's like very exciting things on the bake sale.
And also, you're doing these specialized, customized meals
Yes.
in your house. You want to talk a bit about that?
Yes, so because I think there was another way I adapted to the pandemic. I have this beautiful space that my parents have provided me, which is lake facing. And what I did was I converted. It was sort of a pop-up private dinners, which I've converted my house space into. I, curate menus and experience for people. You can have like from anywhere from 4 to 12 people are most welcome to book the entire place, or sometimes I actually have a menu and then I put it out and then you buy tickets, more like a pop-up. But yeah, it's more about a personalized experience wherein you come, enjoy the experience. It's like a sit down meal, like a 5 course, 7 course meal. And it's theme based. You have an entire experience. You have a lake view wherein you come, you have a sundowner, you start with your drinks. You can, book the entire space for you and your friends or your family. Or when I'm doing like a pop-up, I sell tickets on an individual basis. And that also has picked up pretty well. People are very excited because it's a new experience. It's a different space for them. Honestly, it's like being like sitting across Lake Pona. Like sometimes people are like literally taking pictures like, is this Pona or Pavai? So it's beautiful. And then of course, if I may say so myself, the
No,
experience
please
of my
do.
food, the
Yes.
experience of my food so adds to it. And yeah, so that's another, so it's more like a private dinner, but you don't even have to like think about the crockery or the space. It's all provided to you. You just have to come and enjoy yourself.
So all of those who are missing going to Switzerland and Lake Geneva and all of that, just head to Mumbai and Powai, and
Yes. And this comes from a Kashmiri, like my mom. She's like, "Oh, I'm back in
oh,
the."
Dal Lake. Yes, 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 yes.
Yeah, yeah,
Of
yeah,
course.
yeah.
Yeah, that's
That's what's happening.
wonderful. So I'm going to wrap it up simply because I don't want to cut this and put it into two different things or whatever.
Yes, yes.
But Himal, it's been absolutely fascinating talking to you because sometimes one knows each other professionally and okay a bit
Yes.
more, but I mean getting to know about your thought process and how you made all these different starts from medicine to finance to even swallowing your pride and asking for an unpaid intern's job to working in a cafe to setting up your own thing and this very practical thing about yeah, I mean you've been very candid and thanks for that about how I mean you got out of your dark space, and I guess everyone has their own ways, but I'm sure that seeing someone who's actually done it and seeing someone who's relatable, I mean probably many people might have even come across you or tried your stuff and all that is going to be inspiring for many, starting with me. So it
Thank
was
you.
like
Thank you so
really
much.
fabulous and so good to see you back, and then your smile shows it. And like Diwali, Christmas, this that, let's hope that you have no reason to come out of your kitchen except maybe to meet those who are
Yes, well,
in there.
here's hoping.
Yes,
Yes.
yes, yes. So
Thank
here's also wishing you a great new year coming up, and
Same to
maybe
you
a bit,
and Tanas.
thank you so much, and maybe a bit less eventful perhaps, but even if it is,
Well,
yeah,
looking forward to
you'll come
whatever
out of
is
it.
in store.
You will come out of it. So thanks very much. So folks, that's Chef Hemal Shah from Mumbai, and her Instagram is Hemal Shah, and she puts up whatever she's doing there. She also does these WhatsApp broadcast groups, so you can message her and then it'll come there. And what I keep telling people is that you don't have to be in that city to sort of enjoy someone's offerings or services, because you might be anywhere in the world and have someone in Mumbai whom you love and want to do something for, and Chef Hemal will be more than happy to
Yes.
provide that to you.
For sure.
So
Thank you
thank you
so
so
much,
much.
Kalyan. Thank you. This has been
Thank
lovely.
you.
Thank you so much.
Such a pleasure chatting with you. And next time we'll do that with some scrambled eggs and
For sure.
coffees across each
Perfect.
other.
Sounds great. Sounds great.
Bye. Good. Take
Bye.
care.
Same.
Bye. Bye. Bye.